D'abord, merci, Michael. Thank you very much. First, let me acknowledge the Lieutenant Governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. We had a good meeting. We discussed about the environment and hockey, of course. I remember that the first year of expansion of Buffalo, we lost Gilbert Perreault. Not sure it was a good move, but anyway. This year, it'll probably be Boston. Yeah, but anyway. I would like also to acknowledge Councilman Constantides, the FPA president and good friend of Quebec. He's got the Order of Quebec, Noël Latif. Noël, it means Christmas in French, so I'm sure many people told you before. FPA directors, fellows, distinguished guests, very happy to be here. So, je suis très heureux d'être à New York, la métropole des affaires aux États-Unis, un partenaire de première importance du Québec. Donc, merci au Foreign Policy Association pour l'invitation. So, let me begin by saying how pleased I am to be in New York City this week and to speak before such prestigious audience. I want to thank FPA President Noël Latif for his kind invitation, for having organized this event. Mr. Latif is a long-term friend of Quebec, and we share vision and leadership with you. I also want to recognize the new delegate general in New York, Ms. Catherine Loubier. Yeah. Quebec has a representation in New York since 1940, which make it the first of Quebec's 32 international offices. This attests the great strategic importance of United States and in particular of New York for Quebec. Miss Loubier started 2 months ago, but she's already being very active, making deals and contact. And if the expression New York Minute didn't exist, we might have needed to invent it for her. I must thank also Michael Sabia, first for the nice presentation, two startup, an airline and a political party, different, but similar in some points. And I want to say how proud I am for the work that has been done by Michael at the Caisse de Dépôt. He's managing a $300 billion assets organization, and he turned it, and it's very efficient right now, and I'm very proud of this organization we have in Quebec. Yeah, congratulations, Michael. So I would like to spend the next few minutes sharing with you a success story that is part of our everyday lives, but too often flies under the radar. That story, it's about the Quebec's relation with the state of New York and with United States in general. The story needs to be told because as neighbors, friends, and allies, too often we take each other for granted when in reality, we are dependent on each other for our economic prosperity, cultural vitality, and global competitiveness. Après un peu plus de 6 mois en poste comme premier ministre, c'était très important pour moi de venir rencontrer notre principal partenaire commercial. Et je suis ici pour communiquer aux gens de New York comment notre relation en matière de commerce et en particulier en matière d'énergie, comment elle est stratégique aussi pour l'avenir. Mais je suis ici pour aussi parler de certaines préoccupations que j'ai par rapport à cette relation. We need to tell our story as our two countries must join forces to face economic, technological, and environmental challenges, as well as what I would call self-inflicted challenges. My perspective is that of the leader of a new Quebec government seeking to transform Quebec while reaffirming our strong commitment to closer ties with the United States and keeping North America the most prosperous, free-trading, competitive, and innovative region in the world. And as Michael said, for me, the key priority of our government is really the economy. And we have very ambitious objectives because we have to tell the truth. Quebec is not as rich per capita as the rest of Canada and as the average in the United States. So we really need to reduce this gap in the standard of living. There's no reason for that. So for the next 4 years, and I want to be very clear with all people from different businesses, my obsession will be to see private investment exploding. To give you a figure, because I'm a CPA, so I like figures. Right now, Quebec has about $30 billion a year of private investment. In order to be comparable with the rest of North America, we would need to have 60 billion. So we need to double the size of private investment in Quebec, and it will be my obsession. People working around me, I ask them the figures every month, so I follow that very closely. And I want, at least for the next 4 years, that Quebec be the best place to invest. Fiscally, financially, I want to be very aggressive. And for major investment, I want, with my team, to take care of getting all permits in a short period. Because, like in many places, we have too much bureaucracy, so we need to do that faster, get more private investment, and I will repeat that everywhere. Of course, it starts also with education, and to use an American phrase, we want a system that works for everyone, from GED to PhD, and that's why Minister of Education, Jean-François Roberge, was here last Monday to see what you do with your kindergarten for 4 years old. In Quebec, schools start at 5, but I understand that in starting at 4, it helps having more young succeeding. So I like to share and exchange best practices. Of course, a central area of economic collaboration between us has been the energy file. Quebec has been exporting hydroelectricity to New York for more than a century. And the relationship between Hydro-Quebec and New York financial institution propelled a massive development of hydropower in Quebec in the 60s and the 70s. It was financed here. Today, about 20% of New York State's renewable energy comes from Quebec. We have right now the capacity to do more, 3 times more. So we need to work together to decarbonize New York. And we all know how reliable access to low-cost energy is a key driver of investment and economic growth. So I'm here first today to convey this message. Quebec has already the capacity to make a significant contribution towards helping New York meet its energy and environmental targets. So, Of course, Hydro-Québec has already manifested its interest in the latest call for projects of the New York Power Authority, and the Mayor de Blasio's recent announcement of the New York City Green New Deal did not go unnoticed in Quebec. It's one of the reasons why I'm here this week. So we're not here to take over, but we can definitely help complement any homegrown solution you will develop. Quebec has already the built hydroelectric capacity to become the battery of the Northeast of North America. Affordable, renewable, and reliable energy supply. And speaking on batteries today, I was proud to announce a deal between New York City and Add Energy, a Quebec company with a subsidiary here called Flow, that will install charging stations network for electrical vehicles here in New York. Donc, le Québec a la capacité de devenir la batterie de l'Amérique du Nord pour l'énergie. On a une capacité qui est en surplus actuellement, mais si c'est nécessaire, et j'espère que ce sera nécessaire, on peut augmenter la capacité, on peut construire des barrages additionnels. C'est peu coûteux et c'est vert, évidemment. Donc, une source d'énergie abondante, renouvelable, fiable, abordable. Et parlant de batterie, ben oui, je veux dire qu'on a annoncé aujourd'hui, avec la Ville de New York et la compagnie québécoise Add Energy, l'installation du tout premier réseau de bornes de recharge pour véhicules électriques installés directement sur les trottoirs de New York. Montreal is becoming also a force in artificial intelligence. With Joshua Bengio, he's with me this week in New York from the University of Montreal. We have the ingredient to give our region an edge in the economy of the future. Let's make Northeast of America greater still. Our relationship with New York has been vitally important, and I hope it will be even more so in the future. I want to focus our efforts on three things: trade, investment, and of course, energy. On trade, let me begin by saying loud and clear, we are steadfast promoters of free trade. The reason for that is very simple. Quebec has only 8 million of population. Of course, we have minerals, agriculture, manufacturing, aerospace, gaming, electric transportation, and AI, but we need to share that with somewhere else in the world. We are only 8 million. And we also have a thriving culture. We are open-minded. We have a geography that makes us a natural connection between the industrial heartland of North America and Europe. And the only way to leverage these assets with a small population is by actively engaging the rest of the world through free trade, partnership, and cultural exchange. So, for these reasons, Quebec has been historically where support for free trade is strongest in Canada. We talked before about Brian Mulroney. I remember very correctly that back in 1988, during the electoral campaign, Mr. Mulroney won because it was almost unanimous in Quebec, this free trade between Canada and United States. And Quebec has played a similar leadership role within Canada in the negotiation leading to the Canada-Europe trade agreement and to the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. So if you take those three agreements, we can ratify the one with United States, we now have three trade agreements that connect us to three distinct markets of 500 million customers each. So together, those three agreements provide us with a unique platform to create partnership, establish value chains that will attract investment, spur economic growth and innovation, and create thousands of well-paid jobs. Through most of their history, Canada and United States have been the most reliable partners. On a regional scale, same thing between Quebec and New York. If I was asked, in a summary, the advantages of investing in Quebec, I would say, first, proximity with the United States. Second, those three trade agreements. Three, strategic value chain. Four, world-class trade infrastructure. Five, world-class universities. McGill, Montreal, Sherbrooke, Laval, in Quebec City. We have 18 universities in Quebec. Low-cost renewable energy, open-minded population, vibrant cultural life. Montreal is a fun city. We have many festivals during the summer. I invite you to come and see that yourself. We are also renowned to be a safe place to live. Quebec, look at a map. It's big. We have a wide open space and good quality of life. And on top of that, we will have tax and financial advantages. I want to match any deal you have at other places. So, Quebec, New York axis is the best place in the world to invest. Quebec companies often choose New York for their American base of operation. And we hope that the American investors keep these considerations in mind when investing in Canada and choose Quebec, not only as a place where you can have a great time, but also a place where you can do great business with friends. So I'll be at the end of the week in Washington, and I would like to talk about free trade with people in Washington. I will pledge that free trade favors competition, but also cross-border cooperation that makes all of us more competitive globally. We build things together, we grow things together, and we innovate together. And the proof of concept for this lies in our relationship with New York. For 70% of Quebec international exports go to the United States for $64 billion a year. The state of New York is our top American customer with exports of $8 billion. Quebec is your 10th largest trading partner. So in short, we buy a lot from each other. And when we factor in investment in direct job creation, New York's paramount position is even more apparent. The Caisse de dépôt, for instance, is a partner in investment with Blackstone. I'll meet them tomorrow. Quebec companies like Bombardier, Prévost, Novabus, Ivanhoe Cambridge are massive investors in New York. 17,000 direct jobs in the state of New York, usually in the high end of manufacturing business, are created by investment from Quebec companies. So a thriving relationship such as ours is built on success stories. Let me share a few with you. Since the early 80s, Bombardier has been the key supplier of subway cars to NYCTA and MTA. These cars, designed in Quebec but manufactured here, carry safely and reliably New Yorkers to places where they work, rest, and play. Speaking of playing, I'm sure many of you attend the US Open in Flushing Meadow every September. Did you know that the innovative lighting in the Grandstand Stadium was created by a Quebec company, Lumenpulse? Or did you know that the metal structure for the new Yankees Stadium were made by another Quebec company's Can-Am Structures? And on the environmental front, let us not forget that Quebec and New York, along with our partners from the Great Lakes states, are actively involved in the responsible management of 20% of the world's fresh water reserves. 20%. The Quebec-New York connection is also manifest in culture, especially these days. Yesterday, I was at the Jewish Museum to see the exhibition of Leonard Cohen. You have to see that. You have to see that. Leonard Cohen, of course, lived a bit in Montreal, a bit in New York. We like to say that he's ours, but we are ready to share. And we think that he's one of the secular saints in Montreal, a bit like Jackie Robinson or Maurice Rocket Richard. He was playing for the Canadian, but before us. Yeah. So you have to go and see this exhibition. Also, we can talk about Bernard Labadie, who since 2017 is the principal conductor of the Orchestra of St. Luke's. Or we talked before about Yannick Nézet-Séguin. He's the music director of the Metropolitan Orchestra. Last week, we celebrated Guy Laliberté here as the founder. He's the founder of Le Cirque du Soleil, and they have a show, Lucia, here in New York. So these examples show not only how New Yorkers and Quebecers share much culturally, but also how New York has been a place where Quebec artists could share their creativity with the rest of the world, and where Quebecers come for cultural, intellectual inspiration in places like Broadway, Lincoln Center, and the MoMA. This is just a thumbnail sketch of how our shared history has been a tremendous success on so many fronts. And we can already see some of the next chapters being written in cutting-edge areas such as AI, which is already opening vistas in sectors like fintech, health technology, and mobility revolution. However, gathering clouds of uncertainty have made the future of this great partnership a lot murkier. We are, of course, experiencing a major shift in the global trade environment that is the product of large historical forces such as the rise of Asia and China. It is absolutely true that the emergence of China as a manufacturing powerhouse has had a disruptive effect on some sectors of the economy. But we're not China. We have working conditions that are quite similar, and we have to work together. And it's tough when you see companies like Bombardier competing against Chinese companies and seeing the local requirements getting up to 60, 70%. I think we really need to push on free trade and see how we can manage together. Because China, of course, will push more and more, and I agree that it's not fair to see them not playing the same rules. And the same thing with us. We import a lot of goods from China, but we don't export much. And when we export, it's not easy also to see how we can or cannot protect patents in China. But that's not the case between us. We have good rules, clear rules together, so we have to be careful. And that's why I'm in the camp of optimists. But our long-term prosperity, social harmony, and global influence largely depend on our capacity of working together and keep deepening instead of calling into question the partnership that binds Canada, United States, and Mexico. And I must say that several self-inflicted wounds have been committed recently. For instance, the renegotiation of NAFTA, now the USMCA, has been a long trip to the dentist in the last couple of years. If you had traveled in the last few years anywhere in Canada and in front of a forum like the FPA today and asked the audience for a show of hands of who wanted to renegotiate NAFTA, not many hands would have gone up. So in conclusion, if I learn one thing in business, it's that the best deals are win-win deals. That's the real art. And it's what we achieve in the Quebec-New York relation. So let's do more together. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.